Hi and welcome back to Joe Talks Cars, and welcome the Genesis to the channel. I'm here with the Genesis GV60. We're going to walk you around it and take it out onto the road and find out what 483 horsepower and 700 Newton meters feels like. Most people don't know what the Genesis badge is. Well, Genesis is actually the luxury division of Hyundai Motor Group, and it's not very recognisable. You don't see many on the road, and it makes it unique. Looks a bit like a Bentley badge. The design of the front of this car is, again, very Genesis, very unique. These really thin LED headlights set the car off really nicely, and although I think I'd prefer it in a brighter colour, this sort of navy blue really does suit the car. Looks very classy. Coming down the side of the car, this wheel design is really stunning. 21-inch wheels. They look ginormous, but it's a big car, so it sort of needs them. Again, the design remains classy all the way along, and it doesn't really look like anything else on the road. Coming round the back, it remains to be that chunky, imposing looking car with this quite large rear spoiler and Genesis written straight across the back. The number plate is also worth mentioning, GV60 FUN. It's meant to be a really fun car to drive, and having a boost button and all that power, it really should translate to something quite special on the road. But yeah, I think the overall design of the Genesis is very successful, very classy and unique. And I'm a huge fan of it, a huge fan of the brand, and I'm excited to see what they bring out next. But without further waffle from me, let's jump on in and take this amazing car out onto the road. Right, so the Genesis GV60, like I said earlier, this is the fun one, it's the powerful one, 483 horsepower. Now that's something that we kind of get used to with EVs, that they're all super powerful. But for something this size and this luxurious, it certainly does move. Now in standard form, and when you're just driving it along without pressing any buttons in comfort mode, it rides extremely well. These roads are really bumpy. The car just feels super luxurious. Everything you touch is really soft, all the leather's lovely, and the whole car just feels like it's been put together properly. It definitely doesn't feel like your standard Korean brand of car. It feels very German, feels expensive. This car is priced at just over £66,000, which is quite a lot of money, but when you consider the build quality and all of the tech that you're getting inside it, it's not actually all that much. Everything's clad in leather, everything feels super high quality. The standout feature of this car is, of course, its power. 483 horsepower is a lot of power. Coupled with this boost button, when you hit an area where it's actually appropriate to use it, like national speed limit, you can press this, which gives you an extra 10 seconds of power. And it's alarmingly quick, alarmingly quick. It's instantaneous, of course, with it being electric, there's no lag, it's just, you're straight on the power. Super smooth acceleration, very progressive, and it just hauls you into your seat and keeps you there with the 700 Newton meters of torque. Handling wise, it's not very dynamic, it doesn't feel very sporty, it's more of a point and shoot kind of car. It doesn't have the dynamic ability that you'd expect from a sports car, it's not really a sports car, but it does offer you that extreme turn of pace when needed. There's lots of driver aids, you've probably heard them beeping away at me every time you stray over a white line. It's got cameras in the indicators, so when you put your indicator on, a camera appears down here in the dashboard showing you what's in that corner. That's very cool. And there's just so much tech in this car. You'd have to have it for over a week to get used to everything. In terms of driving it, it's just a super luxurious car. There is a number of driving modes which we've been trying out throughout the day. The first one being Eco, which obviously ups your regenerative braking, gives you the longest range, and makes the car sort of a bit lazier. There's Comfort mode, which obviously slackens off the suspension, makes it feel really supple, and again slackens the throttle off so it's not as dynamic, not as quick to respond to your foot. And then there's the best mode, which is Sport mode. The dials change to red and the car accelerates like a stabbed rat. In Sport mode, I feel this is where the car feels at its best. The steering firms up, the ride firms up, and the throttle response is extremely keen. And I think that's where this car feels at its best. The only thing that I tend to adjust in this is the regenerative braking. So I'm a huge fan of electric cars, I'm a huge fan of regenerative braking. It does make driving so much easier, and it obviously recoups energy back into those batteries. But in this, it's very, very harsh. Like, you feel, you probably would get used to it, but in the short time we've had the car today, I've felt that it's too severe and I've had to wind it back. You do that by pressing the paddles. These paddles would ordinarily be gear change paddles in an internal combustion. But in this, they're to wind back or increase the regenerative braking. So that's quite a nice feature, very easy to use. And that is pretty much what I would say about the whole interior. Although it's got a touchscreen panel, it's got a lot of physical buttons. All the heater controls look really simple to use. You can change the temperature using an actual button. And the steering wheel has actual buttons on it as well. Not any of this haptic touchscreen nonsense that you get in a lot of other cars. The whole car just seems really well thought through. Totally different, unique, and I think it makes a genuinely interesting prospect. It's certainly more interesting than a Tesla, and definitely better made. Boost button again. There's one thing you don't get used to in this car, and it's turn of speed. You look at it and it doesn't immediately look a very sporty car. Yeah, you've got the green brake calipers, but nothing else really screams sporty car. You then press that boost button and put your foot down, and my God, it throws you into your seat with such a huge amount of force. I think you would surprise a lot of people. If you pick someone up in this, they would think was a very lovely place to sit, a very luxurious, comfortable car. They would not expect it to accelerate like it does. And that for me makes it interesting. Electric cars aren't often all that exciting. They're all pretty much the same. And without the noise of internal combustion, you need something else to entertain you. And if that is a boost button and a ridiculous amount of power, then that's what it is. For me, that's what electric cars need to be, because without the huge amounts of power, what are they offering? Just a bit of inconvenience? At the moment, that's pretty much all they are. So this really does appeal to me. Its range is pretty good. We're showing 74%, 153 miles to charge, which is not bad. The claimed is over 200 miles. Not sure how close you'd get to that, especially when you're doing this sort of thing all the time. But either way, it's an impressive amount of range, and we haven't actually depleted it that much despite accelerating really hard. Yeah, it just feels nice and airy. There's a huge gap here where normally you'd have your transmission tunnel. That's obviously not there. So it just feels really nice and airy, loads of storage. And the whole interior, I just think feels like it's been put together so well. I think Genesis are onto a really good thing here. I'm really looking forward to seeing which direction they take these cars and see what else they bring out. It's a super exciting brand, and for the electric car world, it's just a really exciting time for cars in general. Companies are having to think outside the box, and Genesis are really doing that with bringing out something really quite unique and new to the market. Right, so in conclusion, what do I think of the GV60? Well, the first thing I'm going to say is I really want some more time with this car. There's so much I want to play with, so much I want to learn about it. It's one of the best electric cars I've ever driven. It's super powerful, well made, and offers something totally unique. I would highly recommend, if you get the chance, give one of these a go, because you won't be disappointed. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, for plenty more videos like this one to come. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Boom. I'm too good at this.